Hello, everyone. This week marks the 20th anniversary, actually, of the 9/11 attacks. To mark the occasion, we've spoken to the very first New York fire chief to arrive at the scene of the World Trade Center attacks. Chief Joseph Pfeifer told me the harrowing story of how that momentous day unfolded. As you'll hear, it began with his fire battalion investigating a simple gas leak report. Be prepared, this is a harrowing encounter.
We were at a odor of gas in the street, a routine emergency, nothing to get too excited about since we weren't getting any indications that we did have a gas leak. And then all of a sudden we heard a loud noise of a plane coming overhead. And you never hear planes in Manhattan because of the tall buildings. And then I saw this plane flying at a very low altitude and an extremely fast speed that zoomed past us. And then I saw the plane aim and crash into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Every first responder, firefighters, police officers, EMTs, and paramedics, every one of them saw the burning towers. And even though this is our job, they made a personal decision to go into danger because we all knew we were going to the most dangerous fire of our lives. 17 minutes after the first plane hit, we heard another loud noise of racing jet engines, almost like a fighter jet, it sounded like. And this was the second plane that crashed into the South Tower. So now we have two 110-story buildings on fire and thousands of people in the greatest moment of need.
The planes were deliberately chosen to be hijacked because they were due to fly to various airports in California. As a result, they had an awful lot of jet fuel on them. That's why the buildings burned so ferociously for such a long time. When the fire officers were coming down, I think you were engine 33, many other fire officers from all around the area coming down to try to help. When you were sending them into those buildings, did you have any concept of what was going to happen?
The plan was to, since we had no elevators working, to send the firefighters up. And I told them to do two things. One, to evacuate the building, and then two, we'll regroup on the upper floors to rescue those that couldn't get out.
Was that a scene of calmness or chaos? Can you take us back and tell us what it was like?
The lobby where we set up our command post for the North Tower, there was broken glass everywhere. There was cracked marble falling off the wall. And the firefighters came in quietly. They didn't say a lot, and that's unusual for firefighters. They like to talk. But they came in quietly, except for the banging of some of the tools. They had a grim look on their face because they knew they were going to the most hazardous fire of their lives. And that morning, not only did we were concerned about the fires, but as the fires spread, we heard another noise, and that was people jumping. And they landed on a canopy over the front of the entrance to the lobby with a loud thud. And we knew that each thud was the end of a life. And then at one moment, I got so frustrated that I got on the PA system and I told people, if at all possible, hang on, we're coming up for you. But I only could imagine what a decision that they had to make between burning or jumping.
Your brother, Kevin, also a firefighter, he came to join you, didn't he, at the North Tower. Can you tell us what happened next?
A little bit before 9 o'clock, my brother, Kevin, from Engine 33, he was a lieutenant in Engine 33. he reported into me. And I can remember we looked at each other and we had a concerned look on his face. And we worried whether each of us was going to be okay. And he didn't say a word. We just had a moment of understanding that this was going to be a tough day.
Did you at any stage there, Chief, think, I don't want him to go into this tower. I want him to stay here with me?
I treated him as I did my other brother and sister firefighters. I worried about him. I worried about the other firefighters. And I gave my brother, as well as the other fire officers that came in, to go up, evacuate, and then rescue those that were trapped.
All the while, people were flooding down the stairwells, trying to get out. The elevators weren't working. The jet fuel had come down the elevator shafts. It was setting fire to floors left, right, and centre. Did it become more and more chaotic in the lobbies? What was happening then, and what were the comms like?
People came down, and they were very orderly. As firefighters were going up the narrow stairs, people were coming down. And the firefighters did some ordinary things. They said to the people coming down, don't stop. You can make it out of here. Keep going. And we know from people who survived, those simple words made the difference. And perhaps that's the reason that I chose for my memoirs the title of Ordinary Heroes. Because at this extraordinary time in history, our firefighters did ordinary things to make a difference between life and death.
When they started to collapse, when the South Tower collapsed first, although that was the second one to be hit, and then the North Tower collapsed about half an hour after that, where were you and what did you do?
At 9:59, we heard a loud rumbling sound. And if you were watching it on a newscast, you saw that was the South Tower collapsing. I had no idea that a whole building was falling to the ground. I thought part of the elevator debris was coming down the elevator shaft, or part of the plane fell off and was crashing through the windows in the lobby. But the lobby goes completely black, where we couldn't see anything. And at that point, we knew we couldn't command any longer. And I got on my radio and I said, command to all units in Tower 1, evacuate the building. And they started to come down, our firefighters.
Then what happened?
Then 29 minutes later, I made it out to the street, standing in front of the North Tower, and we hear a rumbling sound again. And this time somebody yelled, the building is collapsing. And we started to run. However, with helmet and bunker coat, pants and boots, you don't run too far or too fast in 11 seconds. And then this beautiful summer morning, full of sunshine, goes completely black, where we couldn't see a thing. And then all that noise from the crashing steel and concrete goes silent. It was like a new snowfall, this muffled sound of silence. And for a few seconds, we wondered if we were still alive.
And what would you like the people of the United Kingdom, and indeed around the world, what would you like them to be thinking?
I would like people to remember not just the collapse and the tragedy, but also this sense of unity that we felt.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. and the people.
That we were in this together. And I like them to take that feeling of unity and see if we could apply it to today's fragmented world. And then I like especially the young people, as they look at it maybe for the first time, that they think of heroes not as superheroes but rather of ordinary heroes, of a person they can become someday to make a difference in other people's lives.